of business is any public comments. Is anyone here from the public who would like to make any comments? Okay, hearing none, I guess the next thing we have to do is approve the minutes, okay, of the March 3rd meeting of the board. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Darrell, you got a second?
Darrell, you're on mute.
Darrell, are you on mute? Yeah, you are. Can you get yourself off mute? There you, oh, no, you didn't. No, he's still on mute.
You may have to do that, whoever is
Right.
organizer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director. I'm sorry to interrupt. Remy, could you unmute Darrell Waldron, please? Director Waldron?
Yes, I just asked him to unmute himself and I don't get a reply.
Uh-oh. Darrell, are you there? Don't know.
Looks like he left. He may be, oh, no, he's on.
He's on? Hmm. Well, I'm gonna assume he's okay with it.
I've messaged him in the chat function.
No, he's not.
There we go.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Can I get a second on the minutes of the March 3rd meeting?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next comment, okay, or the next item is approval of the legal bills, okay, from Benoit Lopez, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara. Okay, for $40,467.98 for the month of March. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carry, motion carries, okay. The fifth item, we're moving right along, okay, is a discussion on the approval of the tentative wage agreement, okay, for years 1 and 2, okay, under the collective bargaining agreement that we entered. Approximate cost is $40,000, and I'm going to ask Director Silvera to give us a rundown on this.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. As the directors know, last year we negotiated with the union that represents the collectors, collector supervisors, supervisors in operations, and also the maintenance workers. We negotiated a 3-year contract for 2020 to 2023. The first year was effectively a zero. Ultimately, it turned out to be a zero because it was tied to benchmarks. Given the unusual circumstances of COVID, we tied any increase to benchmarks in revenue. Those benchmarks were not quite met, so there was a zero. There was a reopener in the contract for years 2 and 3. We were scheduled to sit down this month, April of 2021. We ended up meeting sooner with the union and negotiating year 2. It was a reopener as to not only wages, but healthcare participation, which we would be looking for. The union agreed to accept 1% effective this coming July, provided we also gave them 1% retroactively. And then we negotiated another benchmark potential increase for January of 2022, which is tied not to revenue, but to pre-COVID traffic. And on those terms, again, because of the unusual situation of COVID, that was the reason for tying any potential raise again in the future to our traffic numbers. We agreed with the union on those terms. So I would ask that the tentative agreement, which provides for a 1% back to July and 1% July of this year, be approved. The union has already approved it. Oh, and by the way, I already had Attorney O'Gara review the tentative agreement, and he gave his approval.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve this tentative agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second, I have a question.
Yes. Discussion?
Yep. Um, I don't remember having discussed, at least at the board level, the potential impact of automation of the collection system on this contract. What are the potential implications with
Okay.
regard to this contract if we ratify it as is?
Thank you, Director. Last year, even before last year, when we negotiated this 3-year contract that included the wage opener, even before then, we had language in the contract that addressed the possibility that in the future, during the term of the contract, we would go to fully electronic toll taking. When we negotiated last year for this 2020 to 2023 contract, we negotiated changes to that language. We also signed it subsequently when we met with the union. We had a memorandum of agreement when we did the pilot program. So we also had a memorandum of agreement that too addresses what our obligations and what our obligations and what the union's rights will be in the event that we go all electronic. And it included language about looking for other positions within the authority for collectors and collector staff displaced by the fact that we may go all electronic all of the time. It's pretty detailed language.
Okay. Great. Could you at some point have your staff put together for the board members an analysis of what that transition would look like and what the various costs and or policies would be with regard to moving people into other positions, and what kind of long-range plan you have for the transitioning of those employees?
We'll do that. We'll do that, Director.
That's great. It seems to me that that's something certainly that needs to be done as we observe this pilot that you're doing and make a decision on how, when, over what period the total automation, or if not. But as part of that pilot, it'd be great to have a look at what some of the alternatives and what what your plan is for transitioning those employees as you automate.
We've already been doing that, and that's already been part of the dialogue with the union when we
Right.
embarked on the pilot program. And as I say, the language is quite detailed about what our obligations would be
Right.
during the pilot program. And just to put things in perspective, and every job is important. Every job is important. We have 4 supervisors. I believe we have 3 or 4 collectors, and the balance of the 12 are collector/supervisors. When we go all electronic, we will still need supervisory personnel in the operations area. Our plaza operations, we are now stressing that those plaza operations have become operations without that noun plaza in front of them. We are monitoring all of our assets. The supervisors are monitoring our assets. Mount Hope, Pell, Jamestown, Secaucus, the 10 small bridges, everything. So we will continue to need the supervisory personnel. But as to those 12 employees that include 3 or 4, and Kathy can correct me, I forget if it's right now, I think it's 4 who are collectors. You know, we are very much focused on how we will address the transition to all electronic tolling.
Great. If we could see that plan mapped out as to what positions they would hold and what their functions would be, and what the cost of that would be, and ultimately any other plans you may have, whether it includes downsizing or otherwise.
The only thing I'd like to add is I know I have been asked in recent weeks what if there were cost savings from the pilot program. And I just want to point out that we kept the collectors working during the pilot program, so that no one, there was no loss in wages during that period of time. The motorists did not necessarily see the collectors because they were not visible in booths, but they were working.
Okay. If you could just provide that information so that we have some insight as to what kind of jobs they're transitioning into, what their functions will be, what actual work they'll be performing post automation.
All of that is subject to negotiation with the union, but certainly we can begin to develop that. We've already begun, but we'll do. Yeah.
Right. We should at least have a plan with some good reasoning behind it that we'll be presenting to the union, right?
Yes, understood.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
And I'm assuming, just to follow up on some discussion, I'm assuming that all of this, whatever costs or additional costs, will be projected in our next budget process too. That's going to be important too, because it's going to be a little bit of a difference. And I would assume a little bit of cost just to instigate the transition.
Yes, this is, we are planning for that, and we've actually been planning for that for a long time in the capital plan. So these things have been done. We are just about finished analyzing, to Director Alvidi's point, the impacts to the various pieces of our operation. And it was always our plan to figure out what would be available for the toll collectors to transition to. And that's what Director Silvera and myself and Katie Coleman and CFO, all where we cross over departments, what would be available and what kind of training and capabilities and criteria are necessary. And that's what we're working through right now.
Thank you.
You know, in long term, if we could have a look at what the attrition rate would be in terms of retirements, how long these employees have been with the organization, what the retirement policies would be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Okay. So can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next item on the agenda, okay, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Seabury to help us with this one, is a discussion or approval of $198,298.91 for rating calculations on the Jamestown Verrazano Bridge and the Hummock Bridge. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Seabury, would you please give us a little bit of a rundown on this one?
Sure. So we, a couple of months ago, we approved some load ratings for several other bridges. Per a schedule that we maintain, Jamestown Bridge and the Hummocks Ave Bridge are now due based on calendar expiration. There's two metrics to load rating updates, and one would be a structural change, significant structural change, positively or negatively to a bridge, or about 8 years calendar time, and this is per federal highway guidelines. So on both of these bridges, we're hitting the 8-year mark, and we've negotiated with Attain to do the bridge inspections on both of these bridges. The bulk of this cost, $183,000, is for the Jamestown Bridge. Naturally, Hummocks Ave is a short, single-span bridge. It'll be a much simpler load rating. The Jamestown Bridge being the type of construction that it is and the size that it is quite the effort to do a load rating on this bridge. It involves a lot of computer calculations and modeling due to the complex nature of the construction. So we've taken the proposals, we negotiated the proposals with Attain, and we benchmarked them against previous costs for the inspections and also against costs for that RIDOT has had on their own bridge inspections. And we've checked them for reasonableness and thoroughness, and we're recommending that we approve these task orders.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah. So now number 7 on our agenda, we're moving right along here, okay, is an amendment to contract 19-10 for an amount of $45,957 to inspect the repair work by Aetna, okay. I believe it's on the Jamestown Bridge. Okay, Mr. Seabury's, first of all, can I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, and Mr. Seabury, would you give us a discussion here as well?
Sure. So Collins Engineers, one of our on-call inspectors, is currently inspecting work that Aetna Bridge Company is performing on contract 1904. This is actually miscellaneous repairs to both Newport Pell and Jamestown Verrazano. The construction work is ongoing. Collins is, they're finishing up some of the construction work. During the inspections that Collins performed, they did discover that they believe Pier 5W on Newport Pell actually, it would be prudent to do some additional investigation on the pier, and this would include coring into the foundation and doing some soundings using electronic equipment to determine the internal composition of the footing. We were talking about this in the fall of last year, so we've had many discussions on trying to get a handle on what we need to do here. We've since come up with this proposal here for $45,957. I would like to point out Collins is under budget on their contract by about $115,000 on their inspection contract currently, so this would not require an increase to the budgeted amount. But this, the reason I'm bringing this forward is it's a change in the original scope because this is an additional item of work. So I thought it needed to come for approval. I believe that it is prudent to do this work right now while they're in there doing the inspection, and they can perform this expeditiously once we give them notice to proceed, and then we can get some better answers as to what the condition of Pier 5W is on the bridge. So I am recommending that we move forward with this task order.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Discussion?
Eric,
Yes.
what, let's see, in kind of a high level summary, what is the cause of concern here?
They believe that there may be some voids in the footing that stem back to original construction. We don't see an immediate safety concern in any way. I mean, the bridge certainly has been out there all of this time, but they would like to get a handle on what this could be, because if there is a condition that occurred that's like what they suspect, we have the ability to go in and rectify the situation. We can core into the footing, we can fill it with grout, so we want to be able to know what could be this issue that's out there, and what can we do to stem off any future issues with the footing,
Right.
Which could
I
be,
guess,
if
I guess my question
Right.
would be, after all these years, how did we just come upon this?
Yeah. Question.
technology, I think for years, nobody
Okay.
knew that because of the changes in technology and all the electronic analysis that we can do,
Yeah.
through radio waves and whatnot.
Mhm.
This is what's happened. So we're now able to detect these things. And that's why they suspect that this condition occurs. There isn't an issue going on where the pier is falling apart to the point where it's not like they're seeing something like that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's technology. We'll uncover more and more as time goes on. I'm sure from construction years ago. The good thing, like I said, is the bridge it's there. We just want to prevent that there's any future damage to the pier due to a condition, and we can rectify it now.
Great.
So
That's good. That's good. Very good.
Technology is good.
it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, all in favor of this proposal?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mhm.
Madam Chair, before you proceed to item number 8,
Yes.
the IT host of our meeting has informed me that it may have been the case that not everyone was unmuted when we called for public comment. So I would just ask if you could call for all on the call on this Zoom meeting to be unmuted and ask for public comment again, just so that we're certain that everyone has been heard.
Okay. Is everybody unmuted at this point? No. Can I ask that everybody unmute themselves, or I seeing this happening. Okay. Jamie doesn't seem to be unmuted. A couple doesn't seem to be unmuted. Me up here. Okay, I think that's about it.
I think there's a public guest that is not unmuted.
Yes, I
If
see
we-
this over here too.
If the
Yes,
whoever the organizer is, should be able to go in and actually unmute.
unmute that.
I can only ask to unmute. They have to consent to unmute.
Oh,
Then we've fulfilled the due process requirements, I think, of the Open Meetings Act by asking.
okay. So are there any public comments that anyone would like to make? Is that person, a person's still not unmuted though?
Got their hand up.
They got their hand up?
Mine is a little hand raised,
Yep.
Jamie.
Got a hand up? Okay, how do we get that resolved then?
There she is.
Yeah, no comments.
Okay.
No comment? Okay, so there's no comments. Are we sure of this?
Yeah.
Okay. So move forward, I guess. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pardon
Okay,
the
well, that's a
interruption.
that's a good point. I wasn't aware that, not everybody was unmuted and couldn't respond. Okay. So $14,875, okay, to perform an update, okay, to our 2020 10-year renewal and replacement plan, okay. Again, Eric, okay, can you walk us through this one? I can remember that plan. I think I still have it in my files here.
Yeah, sure. So our current capital plan update that's been posted is actually on our website. It was finalized back in early to mid 2019. So when I came here, that was certainly one of the first documents that I was reviewing before I even started and familiarizing myself. And I came to realize it is due for an update every couple of years. It gets updated for obvious reasons. We complete a bunch of projects, other ones start to come on the radar. I also felt that we could make some improvements in the capital plan that we have, and so this task order that we're proposing would do just that. We would go through, we would update the plan. A lot of the projects that are in there will fall off the plan, and some new ones will come on. So a couple of main points in this update that I'd like to point out is we're going to give priority to the first 5 years in the phasing of the update. We'll also do more extensive estimating so we will have better numbers with better backup behind them. So as we move forward and then within the next 5 years to implement these projects, we have good budgeting numbers. And this also lends itself, this update here will also include a plan of finance. So there's a component here that will actually lay out, the financing of each of these projects, which currently isn't shown in the capital plan. The other thing that I'd like to point out is, so it may not get published into the 10-year, component of the capital plan, but we will be looking at years 11 through 20 as part of this, because we need to know what's coming down the pike from those, those further out 10 years. We won't be able to estimate them as heavily, but we will certainly put an order of magnitude estimate on them so that we have so-called placeholders in our plan. But we need to look longer term as well as the first, 10 years. So that those improvements to the plan will be incorporated in this. We're proposing using WSP for this. We think that it'll be an efficient process because WSP has actually performed and or been involved in many of the recent projects. So they've got a good handle on where we've gotten things completed and where we need to go in the next coming years.
Good. Okay, can I get a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, okay, again, Mr. Seabury, can you give us a quick summary of the capital projects that, a status report at this point?
Sure. So I've gone and provided an update in the board package. I actually dropped one of the contracts, 19.5, off the list because we have completed it and closed it out. So the ones that are on here are the ones that are currently active. On contract 19.1, which is the bridge electrical and communication upgrades, that one is active. It has been active all winter, as a matter of fact. This is a contract that we hold with Odette Electric. And they are running the fiber optic cables across Mount Hope and Newport Pell. Mount Hope is completed. Newport Pell, they're finishing some of the fiber optic cables. Work that's remaining is basically terminations of the fiber optic cables. We have run into a difficulty with one of the subcontractors that was doing the terminations on these cables. So we are addressing that right now and looking at another contractor to do the terminations and certify them. So, but the project is still projected under budget by about 125,000 at this point, and moving along. And we just continue to support the project with our own staff and keep them moving. Contract 19.3, which is the partial depth deck replacement on Newport Pell, which was so visible last year. The contractor Etna Bridge is out there and they're doing the final grinding and sealing of the bridge deck. Should only take maybe 2 or 3 more weeks before they'll be off the bridge for the rest of the season, and that contract will be finished up, and they'll be demobilized from the project for the rest of the season. Contract 19.4, which I mentioned previously with this Pier 5W issue, this is miscellaneous and encore repairs to Pell and Jamestown. That work is largely completed. We do have some. In fact, they worked all winter. They did concrete collar work on the piers for Newport, and made good progress. Those are all completed. I give a lot of credence to the divers that jump in the water all winter long in dry suits and do that work. But it was pretty impressive, and the work came out nice. Every day I get reports, and the pictures showed some nice quality work. We have some fiber reinforced polymer strengthening to do on some beams that we've been preparing for. And this basically would attach fiber reinforced polymer strips to the bottoms of the pre-stressed beams on Newport. And what that does is that'll increase the load carrying capacity of these beams so that we don't have issues with load ratings or any bridge safety issues. That work is being prepared right now, and that's remaining. But we have to wait until the temperatures are conducive because there's very specific requirements to applying the adhesives and the FRP material, and then being able to have it cure properly. So that work is ongoing. Then we've got contract 19.13, which is Mount Hope and Secaunet miscellaneous steel repairs. This is with Piasecki Steel. They just mobilized a couple of weeks ago, and the remaining work on this project largely involves composite walkway and stairway accesses and catwalks on Mount Hope and Secaunet. The last few days they've been working, or actually the past week or so, they've been working out at Secaunet River Bridge and installing a new access point to the bridge. Currently, up until this point, we've had to wait until low tide to be able to access the bridge because the access to the insides of the tub girders is in a tidal zone under the Secaunet bridge on the Portsmouth side. So it really limits the access to the bridge. We now will have an access via a stairway that will go up one of the sides of the piers, and it will be locked off blocked off so that the public can't get into it. So it will be secured, but they'll be able to go up without the use of a man lift and go into the tub girder through these new access points. They're made out of composites. I've mentioned these in prior updates, and similar to some of the work that's being done at Mount Hope, they will resist corrosion. They're in a salt environment, obviously, right there in the tidal zone. So they should work out well. Mount Hope, they're also preparing a similar stair access up the North Anchorage, and that would also provide access to there without equipment. So this work is still remaining, but they're out there working. The weather's gotten conducive for them to put the anchors in for all of the mounts. Jamestown Bridge guardrail and railing painting, which we're doing with in-house forces. We have been out there starting to prep for this work. We're not out there in full force. We will be installing some of the segmented barrier that in fact, a good portion of it that was on the Newport project, the deck project last year. We own about 2,700 linear feet of this barrier. We'll be bringing most of that, if not all of that, out onto the Jamestown Bridge for this year's bridge railing painting. We will be maintaining two lanes of traffic, but we'll be using this to basically close off the shoulder, and we'll hopscotch it as they keep going down the bridge during the season. We'll be able to move it along, and they can work behind the concrete barrier. But they've gotten about 2,000 feet of pressure washing done to this point this season already, because the weather's been conducive to this work. So that will continue through the season, and we'll finish that up. And that's what we've got. We've got load ratings and inspections ongoing on several bridges, and they'll just continue until they finish. I know that they're heavily inspecting Jamestown, and with the approval of the load ratings today, they'll start that as well.
Thank you. That's quite a detailed update. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next,
Madam Chair,
yes.
Eric, you expecting any traffic impacts from this work on the guardrail painting?
No, on the Jamestown,
Yeah.
you'll probably get you'll get a little bit of caution, people
Yeah.
slowing down, which actually would be a good thing, because I drive the bridge daily, and I can tell you, I had somebody pass me today doing 80, probably, and it's a bit scary. So anytime we can do a little traffic calming, it's not a bad thing. But the good thing is we'll have the concrete barrier this year. In the last year, we were using water-filled barrier, and it worked out okay. But we did have, we had an accident on the bridge that involved the tractor trailer that you all probably remember. It was back in, I think it was the Friday before I started, and I remember getting a text from Lori about it, and I literally started the following Monday. We lucked out with that one. Everything worked out okay. Nobody got hurt. But it certainly, made us rethink the project, and we'll be putting the concrete barrier out this year because it's available to us now. So,
Great. Okay, great, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, next, I'd like to ask Jeff Lott to do a summary of the financials as of January 31st of 2021.
Right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Get him in here a little bit.
The first page of the financial section is the January month and year-to-date results versus the budget. The first three columns show the actual budget and the variance for the month, while the last three columns show the actual budget and variance year-to-date. If I focus on the year-to-date results, the authority's year-to-date revenue is higher than budget by 11.6%, or approximately $2 million, primarily due to the conservative approach in budgeting, as it was unknown what the impact of COVID would be. Year-to-date operating expenses are 15.3%, or approximately $2.4 million lower than budget, primarily due to open positions, the elimination of the third shift, reduced staff in the customer service center, lower healthcare costs, and the timing of expenses associated with bridge inspections and other reductions in discretionary spending. On the second page of the financial section is the January month and year-to-date results versus prior year. Again, the first three columns show the actual budget and variances for the month, while the last three columns show the actual budget and variances year-to-date. Again, if I focus on the year-to-date results, the authority's revenue is lower than prior year by 16.4%, or approximately $3.8 million, primarily due to the impact from COVID. However, all operating expenses, with the exception of insurance, are lower than prior year by 14.4%, or approximately $2.2 million. Again, this is due to open positions, the reduced staff in the customer service center, elimination of third shift, timing of bridge inspections, and overall reduction in discretionary spending. Now, at last month's meeting, I know we were asked to kind of take a look into what is only 1 month in arrear look like versus a few months. And while Tony and I are trying to get something put in the package, I just want to give you a verbal update on February. February revenue is in line with the budget, and the operating expenses continue to track lower than budget for all the reasons I noted above. So there's nothing different in February that we've seen for the prior 7 months. So I just wanted to give you that update. And again, we'll try and make progress on trying to get numbers in there, even if they're at the high level.
Thank you very much. That's very informative. Any questions?
Yes. How are the toll revenue trending here? Is it, I know you said it's down about 16% year to date, but how's it trending in the last couple of months?
So I always compare the revenue, and we have a very good hard metric based on our traffic.
Mhm.
And I know Lori's going to cover that, and I don't want to steal any of her thunder. But the metric is amazing. It ties really good. The numbers are up, and I'd rather not say any more than that because I don't want to steal Lori's thunder. if
All
that's
right, I'll
okay.
wait.
Okay.
I'll wait with bated breath.
Okay, very good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's move to Lori's Executive Director's report. Go for it, Lori.
I have the best staff. I have the most wonderful staff. in the
They're
world.
doing good.
I actually, I was telling someone the other day that often when I have all the directors on a, we use Teams a lot here in the office, and I often think, the thought goes through my head how fortunate I am to have this staff, and that I often feel like I'm facilitating the talents and skills of my director of tolling, my director of engineering, my CFO, and all the others who are my senior staff. I feel like I'm facilitating their ability to shine, and I hope that means that that's a good management style. So, but I give so much credit to them. So thank you, Mr. CFO, for not stealing my thunder, because it's not just thunder, it's fireworks, really.
Yes.
I mean, it's great. It's great, great news that we are doing extremely well in terms of what the traffic looks like. We are at almost 90% of pre-COVID traffic, which is great. I mean, we've been, as we moved into the middle of March, we needed to compare not only with last year, which was COVID. We got by the middle of March, we were into COVID. So we knew we had to start seeing some tremendous numbers compared with last year. And we're seeing 250% of the same day of the week last year. And as I mentioned, we're now seeing numbers that are approaching just about 90% of pre-COVID numbers in the same date from the year before. So Jeff, if you want to add anything to that, I mean, it's just, we knew, I think that Evan Smith from Discover Newport said that the first or the early months of 2021 were still going to be very difficult, but that then the traffic is going to come back enthusiastically. And that is true. What we don't see is the commuters coming back at the same rate as we had them in 2019. The Navy, for instance, has not come back. Clearly, there's been a transition to remote work for many businesses in all sectors, but we're already seeing it, and we do believe that the the tourism industry is going to make up for that, and we're doing very well. So if the trend continues, if the sun continues to shine, our traffic numbers are getting, I hate to even hazard this to say this, but they are getting back to where they were before COVID hit us last year.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
So
Any questions? Anything else, Executive Director? I think that's all.
I have a few other things on my executive director's report.
Yes.
That I just wanted to mention. The accountability and transparency audit that's done of quasi-public entities has been finalized. We came through it with flying colors, as we did when the statute first passed, and we were one of the first to be audited, and we were held up as a model to the other quasi-public entities. There was a suggested improvement, which has to do with our toll processing vendor completing what they call a SOC 1 Type 2 report. It was a go forward suggestion. We've already addressed it and implemented it. So again, we have come through that with flying colors. It's a great thing. Nice to have things to celebrate in these challenging times. We have 2 RFPs that I'd like to mention. We have an RFP out for external audit services. So that's it's obviously something that we're required to do. So that RFP will be out, and we'll be expecting to bring something before you at a coming meeting of the board to approve the company that we select to do the audit in the future. The other RFP, which I'm telling you about now and will go out very shortly, is an RFP for all electronic tolling. Now, when I say all electronic tolling, that encompasses modifications to the existing plaza at the Pell Bridge, as well as siting and design of an open road tolling gantry. We've had in the past, obviously, as Eric has mentioned, the 10-year plan actually contemplated this, that we would be going all electronic in the years to come. I believe the current 10-year plan says 2022. So COVID has accelerated that a bit. We've already been all electronic for most of the past year, from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week. Now we are looking at all electronic, and we will be putting out an RFP asking, looking toward modification of the existing plaza and siting and design of a new gantry that will allow for totally free flow traffic. The tentative plan, as we think this through, and Director Alviti spoke to this a little bit earlier and asked us some questions. The tentative plan is that we may be looking after Columbus Day to no longer collecting tolls by cash and credit card. We may or may not wait until some modifications have been done to the existing plaza, but the pilot program told us that we can do it with the existing plaza design. So we, on the other hand, if Eric gets this RFP out and it looks like we can modify this plaza, remove a couple of toll booths, and allow for more free flow tolling while we're siting a new gantry, then we may do that. So it's fluid at this point, but that's our tentative plan, and that RFP will go out in the next week or so.
Okay, so we got an October anticipated date for this, which is good to know as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
As a result of the pilot program, will you be providing the board with a kind of summary report on the various costs and benefits to doing the transition to full automated toll collection?
We can do that, yes.
Great. I'd just like to get a feel for what the kind of push and shoves are, in making that transition, and what ultimately we realize in terms of benefits, whether they're cost savings or other kind of benefits.
Yes.
I know that there's a big safety benefit, right?
big safety benefit. There are cost benefits. There are few downsides, if any. Kathy, I don't know if you want to speak to it, but the pilot program went very well.
Great.
Traffic adapted to it very quickly. We saw no impediments.
Right.
We had concerns going into the pilot program about the current configuration in the plaza. Those concerns were addressed by what we saw.
Great.
Yeah,
So some kind of just a summary of what your findings are and what the recommendations going forward would be. That'd be great.
yeah, to your point, Director Alviti, as you know, when you do bill by mail, there's a delay in the collection. So we are at the tail end of that. We're 1 month out from the last day that we did the 24-hour bill by mail. So we should be able to start that full analysis. I mean, we've done it all along.
Sure.
About a week from now, and really truly see the various impacts on all of our processes, from
Great.
payables to all of that.
Right. Yep. Whenever you have the data, it'd be fine.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks.
And the last thing on my list is the American Rescue Plan Act, infrastructure opportunities. We submitted to the state had a deadline early last week, for submission of projects that might be suitable for use of funds that are coming to the state of Rhode Island as a result of COVID. We submitted 3 proposals, all for studies of items that we know are on the minds of Rhode Islanders, our elected officials, all of the stakeholders. One of them was a study of the feasibility of having some kind of a bike path and or walking path on each of the 3 bridges, the Pell, the Mount Hope, the Jamestown. One was for modifications that I just spoke about to the current plaza that would better facilitate free flow traffic and tolling without cash and credit cards. So we submitted that one as well. And the third one was to look at the issue that we've been dealing with in recent weeks, and which I will describe as the accessibility of mental health resources in the state of Rhode Island, and the feasibility of constructing some type of a barrier or netting on each of the 3 bridges, Pell, Mount Hope, and Jamestown. Again, these are studies that we proposed, and the proposals were submitted last week. Jeff, Eric, Kathy, and we all collaborated to make certain that the proposals were submitted, and we'll see what comes back.
Great. What are the amounts of those proposals?
The third that I mentioned, the mental health, accessibility of mental health services, and feasibility of some kind of suicide deterrent, that one, the study amount was pegged at 1.5 million. We really, that's the best estimate that we have at this point. That's the amount that we assigned. Jeff, I'll let you speak to the amounts that we assigned to the bike and walkway and to the modifications to the plaza.
Sure, the bike and walkway was another $1.5 million within that proposal. We had addressed the fact that if they did accept the first one, then there would be a potential to reduce that second $1.5 million, because we could do that at the same time.
Right.
And the other one for the all electronic tolling was $12 million.
Any other questions?
The all electronic tolling included actual construction and implementation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, can I have a motion, okay, at this point, to go into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A2?
I'll make the motion.
Get a
Second.
second? Okay, all in favor? Okay, we're
Aye.
gonna move into executive session now.
Yes, and just before we do that, I just want to state that that would be for an update on a construction litigation matter. And also at this time, the host of this Zoom meeting, who's Remy Valaches from our IT department, he's going to remove the remaining attendees. He's gonna move them into the waiting room on our Zoom meeting. Those of you who are moved into the waiting room, you may either leave the meeting altogether if you choose to do so, or you may wait until the executive session is over and we come back into open session for a report out of executive session and final adjournment of the board meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're in open session, and as I am in open session, and I apologize for not doing this at the beginning of the meeting, I think we all know, okay, that that Steve has resigned from the board. He decided not to, you know, continue his place on the board. But I do want to, you know, formally and in person thank him, okay, for all of his work and dedication to the organization for all those years. I really wish he was still here in my current role. I'll miss him, I think, more than most. But he did just such a great job, okay? I've blown his record right off the water. I'm going to tell him when I'll send him an email and say, okay, we went till, you know, he'll die laughing. But I hope everybody agrees that he just did a great job, and I think we should just formally send him a big thank you from all of us, the board of directors, for all of the work he's done, okay, for the
Sure.
organization over the years.
I concur.
Great. Me too.
And Madam Chair,
Madam Chairman, Madam Chairwoman, we may want to make a motion to seal the record of the executive session.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Anybody gonna second that? Okay.
Second.
and we should also note that there were no votes taken in the executive session, so there is nothing to report out.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so now, okay, is there any other business?
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Do you like to second that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for all, you know,
You did a nice job, Judy.
appreciate it,
Thank
okay?
you. Thank you very
Well, we
much.
got a lot covered
Great-
today. Thank
great-
you very much,
Great job,
everybody.
Madam Chair.
Have a good day.
Take care,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.